That book which oppresses you must be burned, or you will incur the most serious displeasure.
I repeat, I will not burn the book.
Travis Wingutzel, one of the things that ignored me as a child was my mother when I would tell her something that I had physically experienced. She would respond with, "That sounds right." Now, she's of the older generation, about ready to die off. And so, words in her generation had the same meaning as different words in our generation, or your generation if you're obviously younger than me. And so what she was saying in her generation's speech was, "That feels right." Mormon, born and raised, went on a mission herself, and admits she's a racist. Though her excuse was, "Well, I'm not as racist as my parents." Oh, thanks for ruining Grandma and Grandpa for me, who kept their mouths shut. After the first divorce, which I don't even know if it can be called a divorce, I got screwed big time on that one. Major setup on that. But anyway, the state president had called me in to kick me out of the family ward. And said that it was necessary for to move on, and he didn't come right out and say it. He used the Mormon code that I should find another woman to marry. And so thus sent me to the younger singles ward, because I was under 30 at that time. That's the cutoff between the older and the younger singles wards here in Utah. And I don't think I even saw the movie Singles Ward. I thought it was so horrifying that I didn't even want to dare attempt it. So I don't think I can recall anything from it, therefore I must not have seen it. And when I was on one date with a girl, we were back at her place, and I was thinking I was impressing her with, having knowledge of Mormonism and stuff like that. The type of thing that a Mormon guy does to impress Mormon girls. And I put her into shock. All I did was give her my testimony of having a testimony from faith. That when you get a feeling, or when something sounds right, you have to see it through to the conclusion in the physical realm. And I didn't word it in that manner back then. I just was using Alma chapter 32, starting in verse 28, using agriculture to try to explain it. And she herself had been on a mission. Born and raised Mormon. And I put her into shock with a doctrine that was completely foreign to her. Wow. I myself went into shock, so I knew what it was like and what she was going through. On my mission, New York, New York, I was going through Steve Young videos on YouTube yesterday, trying to find if he had mentioned about Brigham Young saying that he was a menace to society, not getting married at 26, which was actually 24. The actual quote that somebody had done research on pinpointed the earliest reference to it at 24. And so, yeah, I went down memory lane as my mission covered part of Connecticut, and so I saw Steve Young's parents and their home there in Connecticut. So that brought back memories for me. Even of Steve Young, he showed up to church once, surrounded by a grouping of girls and missionaries trying to squeeze in between the girls to get autographs. Leave him alone. But one thing I've learned is that Mormons, because of the doctrine that they've been raised with, cannot accept anything that challenges what they've come to personally learn through a spiritual witness. If it doesn't sound right or feel right, they automatically dismiss it. That's why I'm dismissed. That's why I get the thumbs down. Is because those particular Mormons have an eternal hatred towards me for speaking the truth about Mormonism. That Joseph Smith is a translator, and that the Book of Mormon is true as a coded message warning for us today. But again, that's not what sounds right to Mormons. That's not what they've heard. They've never heard any prophet or apostle say such things. And so, yeah, they immediately dismiss it as false. That I, therefore, am an antichrist, I'm anti-Mormon, I'm an apostate, I'm evil, I'm a follower of Lucifer, I'm a Korah whore. And this Mormon sensitivity, which is a white supremacist term, white supremacists love to call snowflakes. You know, that's the modern term now, but before that, it used to be sensitive. You're just being sensitive. You're just being a snowflake. If they have never heard it, if they've never thought of it themselves, and thus if they've concluded something else with their feelings, anything else to the contrary, anything new is therefore automatically wrong. And they immediately put up their barriers, the gate comes down, and they don't listen, they don't believe. And I've seen that in Mormons. When I'm talking to somebody, they'll just shut off in the conversation, and then they'll respond in a manner in which indicates they're not listening to me. Because they've already made up their mind of what is true and what isn't. And so the information I'm providing is obviously untrue. And, well, yeah, I probably should mention this too. I wrote notes. I do have notes, but I don't have a script. It's all winging it. I sort of ruined it. It should have flowed in the conversation where Mormons tell me that the Holy Ghost tells them that I'm wrong. I did have a comment like that not too long ago, where the guy said that I listen to you and I don't feel the Holy Ghost, but I listen to the prophets and apostles, and yeah. So, how do you get through to people who've learned to protect their sensitivity by shutting out anything that threatens their belief system? When I come along and say, tons of stuff, my goodness, that Joseph Smith had nothing to do with the Book of Mormon, the content in the Book of Mormon, that he was only to distract Martin Harris, to make Martin Harris think that he was a part of the job. And when Joseph blew it with 116 pages, he was kicked out from helping any further. You know, that immediately Mormons shut down. They will not listen anymore. I see that as baggage for ex-Mormons too, guys. Trying to reach out to ex-Mormons, I do get the blowback. I get the shunning that Mormons give. I get the hate speech that Mormons give. I get the middle finger. I did that video about John Dehlin giving me the middle finger, and the manner in which he presents certain types of video presentations, the topics that he covers. And so I'm able to say, yeah, he's keeping updated on my videos and presenting his counter reply to show that he doesn't believe anything I say. And some other stuff, the coding in the Book of Mormon. Even when I point out to Mormons that the Doctrine and Covenants was coded, and the 1981 version of the triple combination was an attempt to try to decode as much as they could, though they purposely didn't decode Babylon in section 1, verse 16. That was the last video I did, where I went over the anti-Semitism of Mormonism. And Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball were purposely infiltrating the church to overthrow it as part of the Illuminati threat, as we're now experiencing. But like I told you, even when it concerns the woman that I dated that one time, she couldn't handle basic doctrine. It was too much for her. She'd already created in her mind what the doctrine was for Mormonism. She'd been out on a mission preaching it, she'd grown up developing it, and had solidified it in her mind that that's the way it is, that's how life is, that is her reality. And I put her into shock simply by telling the truth. Bursting her reality bubble. And I didn't tell you about my mission. I skipped that, didn't I? So while on my mission, I have district leaders, zone leaders, assistants to the presidents who are fellow missionaries, just youngins like me. Of course, we were older than the youngins nowadays. And so going out at 19, I have others who are within 19 to 21 years of age who are out there, and they're in positions of authority over me as a district leader or as a zone leader. The APs were seemingly the reformed goofballs, the slackers. That was in our day and time. And the concept that was presented in my thinking process was, do I have to obey unrighteous authority? And I tried mulling that over in my mind, trying to think of scenarios for and against, and I didn't really know the Book of Mormon stories as well as I do now. There is King Noah, who was wicked, who assigned brand new priests, kicking out the old, putting in new, who were his bestest buddies, who would let him get away with all that he was getting away with. And Alma still has authority to baptize as a priest, even though King Noah was a bad guy. And so it doesn't really say that you have to obey King Noah, but Alma did have authority, as the story indicates. And so those types of dilemmas are going through my head, trying to figure out, okay, do I follow the orders of this bleepity bleep district leader or bleepity bleep zone leader who comes in, tells me to set a goal for the number of baptisms for the month? And I can't do that. Well, you make a promise. No, I can't do that. Make a covenant. Oh, no, you're not getting it. I can't do it. I'm taking away the agency of others if I give you a number. Because if I give you a number, guess what? It's going to turn out 0. Everybody else in the mission under Creel Colford was getting 200 per companionship per month baptized. And here I was, 0, 0, 0. And so here they are trying to say, give us a covenant. They want me to swear an oath that I'm going to get a certain number of baptisms, as if that's going to change things. Because that's what they've thought of what Mormonism is. And I knew it's not. I can't take away other people's agency. I present them the message. I hand out the Book of Mormon. It's up to them. They have to read it. They have to research it. It's up to them. And we were getting people saying, yeah, I read, pondered, and prayed, and the answer from the Holy Ghost was, no, the Book of Mormon is not true. This is what I'm having to deal with. And so I don't know what these other missionaries are doing. And yes, I do. They were deceiving people just to get the baptism, just to look good with the rest of the missionaries, who are all competing now, knowing that they were getting 200 a month. And I can't do that. I can't go around lying to people. I can't go around deceiving people. You know, even if the church were true, I still can't deceive people to get them into the church thinking, well, they'll realize how good the church is and they'll thank me for it. I can't do that. I have to be honest. And if they just choose not to be a part of it, that's on them. But for Mormons, no. When you have an incorrect belief system, you have consequences. If you have a correct belief system, you have consequences. And I'm finding out that my consequences for having the correct belief system, having obtained the consequences and the knowledge and the witness, physical witness, is that Mormons want me dead. Wow. Yeah. And of course, then you start saying, well, maybe you shouldn't think that way, Travis. Maybe you should think like a Mormon so that they don't murder you. Can't do that. I can't deny knowledge. I know it. And I can't deny. I can't, Mormons are the ones holding the gun to my head saying, deny Mormonism. Mormons have heard this growing up. There was a Mormon who, a guy in the early days of the church, came up to him and put a gun to his head and said, deny the church. And he wouldn't deny the church. And then the guy was, oh, okay, I'll let you go. And so Mormons are supposed to learn from that they need to be bold and stand up to people who tell them to deny the church. And it's Mormons who are telling me to deny the church. It's Mormons who are putting the thumbs down, trying to censor me and silence me, to make me look bad in front of other people. It's Mormons who are purposely destroying my life, trying to hurt me in any way they can. Whether it's my life, my liberty, my property, relationships. Mormons. Nobody else in the world, as I've lived in other places outside of Utah, born and raised outside of Utah. But since I came to Utah, the only ones who are persecuting me are Mormons. And I can't give in to their peer pressure. I can't give in to their threats because I know the truth. Joseph Smith is a translator. The church is lying. I know that the Book of Mormon is true, but it's coded. It's not an actual history. The church is lying. So what do? The one person Mormons should embrace as their brother, and they want me dead.